Hello, I'm Fast Lawyer. I'm with Oculus Rift Reviews, now with Windows Mixed Reality as well. Today we're going to review Snailiens VR. Snailiens is a game on the Steam store for the HTC Vive, Valve Index, and the Oculus Rift. It normally retails for $14.99. It goes on sale every now and then. I think $10 is usually the normal sale price, although it's gone as low as $1.49. But I actually bought this game in a bundle, so for me it was about 50 cents, and at that price, this is a great deal, but it rarely goes at that price. And at the normal sale price of $10 or the normal retail price of $14.99, I do think this game is overpriced because it's kind of outdated now. There are some good mechanics here. This game has more depth than most wave shooters. This is a first-person shooter tower defense game, and it does have some nice tower defense elements that make this game unique, just in some of the depths and the strategy involved here. Unfortunately, I don't believe the execution was the best, so even though it has these elements of being a really good tower defense, wave shooter, first-person shooter, it just kind of falls flat just because it wasn't well executed. First of all, it does have some nice environments. There's two different major regions, the USA and Japan, and the US has, I believe, 8 different levels, and they're all different areas, and then you get multiple waves within those areas. And for the most part, it does look very nice, but some things are out of scale, which unfortunately just makes it look odd. So there's like some nice looking parts to each level, and then there's some stuff that just is, the scales are off, and it just kind of makes the whole illusion fall apart. And same thing happens with the gameplay. So the gameplay is very rough around the edges. So there are some nice mechanics in this game that definitely make it better than most tower defense games in VR. Unfortunately, the execution is subpar. The interfaces are clunky. The gameplay mechanics are clunky, especially on the Oculus Rift. So I tested this out on the Oculus Rift, and it basically has HTC Vive wand controls. So even though it's listed as being Oculus Rift compatible, that's kind of questionable, just given how poor the mapping is to the Oculus Touch controllers. It's really bad in this game. The default is teleport, and I strongly recommend changing that as soon as you can. Teleport is awful, especially on the Oculus Rift. You actually have to press down on the joystick, then it'll turn in the direction that it's facing, and you can't always control the direction that it's facing. I mean, technically you can. I mean, it's possible, but it's just so difficult to do it correctly each and every time, so you'll end up facing directions you don't want. So I highly recommend you just change it to full locomotion, although then you don't have any turning, so you have to turn in real life. And everything here is super clunky when it comes to the Oculus Rift touch controllers, from placing down towers, and even the shooting mechanic is not the best. And there's power-ups you can get, and there's upgrades that you can buy, to get better weapons, to get better towers, and there's different elements involved that'll do different damage to different enemies. There's different enemies involved. There's enemies that'll make other ones go faster. There's one that plays rock and roll that heals the other ones near it. So the enemy variety is actually very interesting. You won't see it here in my video because I had a bug, and I'll talk about the bug later, but I've played other levels, and there's different enemies, and just different kinds of snails and whatnot, and they're interesting. Unfortunately, just like I mentioned, the shooting mechanic is so poor, the interactions are so bad on the Oculus Rift touch controllers that it just kind of doesn't matter, because overall the gameplay will feel very clunky and frustrating, and it's just not going to be very fun because of that. I also think there's an issue with the hitboxes. Here I think I encountered an issue where I thought I put the barricades, and I thought there was maybe enough room for the enemies, but it seemed like it didn't, and it may have caused a bug where I couldn't progress past this level. As you'll see, I never get to victory even though I finish all 3 waves and finish off all the enemies. It keeps just repeating the 3rd wave of the level over and over again. I just had to manually quit at the end. I wasn't getting any extra money, and I wasn't getting past the 3rd wave of the level, even though, like I said, I kept playing that 3rd wave, and I completed it by finishing off all the enemies, and then it would just go right back to, okay, do the 3rd wave again. So I think it must have been a bug. It might have been a bug related to the way that I placed the barricades. But yeah, just, you have power-ups, and you can get different weapons, as you saw there, like a little machine gun that you can get with one of the power-ups, or one that throws away like little saw blades, which is nice, but they do so little damage that it almost doesn't make any difference. The big difference is that normally you have these revolver pistols, and you have to manually shoot each time, which can get very tiring on your trigger finger. Overall, I have to say, this game is just outdated now. It has a nice strategy mechanic to the tower defense genre. Definitely has more strategy than the normal tower defense game. Unfortunately, the poor shooting mechanics, the poor UI, the bugs I encountered just make it, and the scales being off in certain objects, just make it an unpleasant experience overall, especially for the price. I know $14.99 is not a lot, but given how outdated the graphics are, the gameplay mechanics are, you know, like I said, it has no turning. The default is teleport, and just selecting items with the UI is a pain. Putting up blockades or putting up towers is a pain because of the poor controls. I just can't recommend this game, especially on the Oculus Rift. So I have to rate this, I'd give it a 4.5 out of 10. Like I said, there's some good things that I really like. There's lots of different levels. There's some nice mechanics to the tower defense. Unfortunately, it's just executed so badly that I just can't recommend this. Anyways, I'm Fast Lawyer. Thanks for watching.